Hello, everyone. Welcome to Biblical Baggage. I am Chelsea.
And I am Allison. You can call me Al.
Yes, you can call her Al.
You better, or I'll find where you live.
Yeah, actually, she's pretty good at that. That she found out where I lived, and that's why she's sitting next to me right now. This is not by choice. Biblical Baggage is a semi-weekly or bi-weekly, whichever one means every other weekly podcast where we go through the Old Testament and try to unpack some of the most entertaining stories.
And I'm going to tell you about Ehud and Eglon and this fantastic story so many people look over in the Old Testament.
This is the story that got this podcast started, actually.
It's one of my favorites.
We're in Judges, the book of Judges.
Yeah, this is Judges 3, verse 12. You'll see it's about Ehud at first.
Ehud.
Now, to put this in perspective, this is after Moses. This is after Joshua. This is after your Technicolor Dreamcoat. The Israelites made it to the Promised Land.
And then they did some disobeying, and now basically they're trying to get parts of the Promised Land back.
Well, that's how it happens in the Old Testament. If you read through it, it's basically entire loop of Israelites get the Promised Land back, they sin, they worship false gods, they lose it, they get it back, they lose it, they get it back. It's
somewhat repetitive, but each time that they get it back is like
we hope they learn a new lesson.
A new lesson. I'm definitely learning lessons throughout the way.
I'm not sure what lesson we learned from this one, but it's entertaining.
Yeah. So
to get you on this one, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. And as far as you know, so many chapters in the Old Testament start with this sentence.
Yeah, that's so true.
It is basically there in a galaxy far away.
So the Israelites messed up again. And so God let King Eglon of Moab...
These are the Moabites. They happen a lot.
Yeah, the Moabites are in charge of Israel with King Eglon. It says here, Eglon brought the Ammonites and the Amalekites together under his command and went and defeated Israel and took over the city of Palms.
Yep.
So the Israelites were subject to King Eglon of Moab for 18 years. So that's where we're kind of starting the story.
18 years ago, Eglon came in and he conquered lots
of land.
Lots of the land here.
So the Israelites were not prevailing, I guess, under the rule of King Eglon.
Well, they did evil in his eyes again, which is why God sent in Eglon.
They cry out to the Lord. So God raised up a champion for them, Benjamite Ehud, son of Gera. And this is my favorite part. He was left-handed.
Left-handed is an evil, vile sin.
You can't choose to be left-handed.
Well, Chelsea, you should know 60 years ago, if you were in school and you were left-handed, they would smack you with a ruler and make you use your right hand. That's 60 years ago in America. We're not talking Bible times. You sinner. How dare you? If any of you are left-handed out there, turn from your evil ways, look to God, and pray for salvation.
For a third hand.
A third hand.
A middle hand.
This is the story of Ehud.
Ehud. So Ehud is left-handed.
A very faithful Israelite.
The Israelites sent tribute to King Eglon of Moab through him. So Ehud gets there.
He brought tribute to Eglon, because this is how it would go. Like, Eglon owns the area, you gotta bring tribute to the king in the area.
Mm-hmm.
But God had finally come back to the Israelites, and he was sick of Eglon, from what we know.
I guess, yeah.
Well,
I don't know if he was sick of Eglon, or if he decided that the punishment for this time around had gone long enough. It had come to age, as they say. It was 18 years old.
Either or.
So Eglon has
He's not too specific about
Eglon
it.
Ehud has a two-edged dagger.
You have to know here is anyone that's deep into swords knows that you normally carry a sword, a dagger, on the opposite hip from where you draw it. So say you're going through TSA and you've got a sword. If you are right-handed, they're going to be checking your left hip. But since Ehud was left-handed, he strapped this dagger or short sword to his right leg.
He has it girdled on the right side of under his cloak. So, when they check him for weapons coming in, they check his left side, because that's where conventionally
A right-handed person would carry it.
where a non-sinner would put it.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're left-handed, you're going to pretend you're right-handed, because to be left-handed is a sin and no one would dare.
And even if it's not a sin, it's like people are still like, about it. You know what I mean? Like, no matter,
That's where it's at.
like,
If you're carrying something on your right hip because you're left-handed, you're going to be shunned.
So he goes in to meet Eglon, and Eglon, I like
loves the tribute. It's great.
It's hilarious, because the way it's phrased in my Bible is that King Eglon is a very stout man.
They say stout, and what they mean is
Obese?
obese, beyond obese.
He's a very big man.
Imagine obese back in Bible times.
So after he gave the tribute,
Ehud comes and gives Eglon the tribute, and he goes, "Sir, I have a secret message for you, O king."
and then
he goes,
he tells everyone to leave because it's a secret message from...
"Quiet, I have a secret message." And he sends all of his attendants out of the room.
So Ehud approaches Eglon. At the time, Eglon is sitting alone in his cool upper chamber.
I think he's in the upper room of his summer palace.
And then what does he do?
Well, as the king rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. Even the handle sank in after the blade, which came out his back. And Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. Then Ehud went out to the porch. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them.
Okay, and we're going to pause right here, and we're going to just reiterate what happened. So Ehud stabs Eglon. Eglon is so large that his stomach swallows the sword around him and sucks
and all
of it. The entire sword is in him, and then Ehud just lets it go. It walks away.
I ain't dealing with that anymore.
Here's an important fact that this is what really makes it for me. Where he stabs him, it must have been through his...
It's through the gut. It's right
through
in the
his
gut.
colon or something, because it says here that the filth came out, and what they're kind of saying, the stench of his poop, and poop came out of his belly where he sucked up the sword.
Chelsea, you're a mortician. You know what happens when people die.
But this is different because usually they're not stabbed. Well, anyway.
That's true too, I suppose.
Swallowing a sword in their belly. So Ehud leaves.
Ehud leaves.
And locks the chamber behind him.
He's out through the porch. He's gone. He's done with this. And Eglon's servants are just outside the room. They're just sitting outside the room, hanging out, chilling, be like, yeah, this is okay.
Because the stench from the poop that came out of his belly is so strong, they assume that he is just using the restroom.
Funniest thing, there's a verse about it. And it said, after he gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. The doors that Ehud locked. And it says, they said, the servants, that is, he must be relieving himself in the inner room of the house. So we have to imagine this was a common occurrence. That Eglon was such a large man that he would spend hours relieving himself in the inner rooms of the house.
Well, he is the king. He's probably eating like crap.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a thing that happens. So Ehud has hours to escape while these servants think Eglon is relieving himself in the inner rooms. The only way you can see the sword is if you circle around and see it sticking out of his back because his stomach swallowed it up, according to this.
That's absolutely insane.
It's crazy. And Ehud's been gone for 2 hours and he's got his buddies waiting. That's right. You didn't forget about this part. They had a trap set. They were that smart. Ehud is running. He's booking it back to his family. He's running past these idols. He's escaping past these people. After he went and killed this king, he goes and finds his buddies up the mountain, says, "Follow me, for the Lord has given Moab, your enemy, into your hands."
And then they killed 10,000 Moabites.
10,000.
And they took the town back. On that day, Moab submitted to Israel, and the land was tranquil for 80 years.
80 years.
So, I mean, I did a little research. I couldn't find much about this Eglon guy, honestly.
He was a big picture in my childhood. Ehud is my Bilbo. Eglon is my Smaug. I wish we had more about him. I wish we had more history about him and where he came from and how Ehud got in.
Even if go to the Wikipedia page for Eglon.
There's not much on him.
You already read it? There was a decent amount.
Is there?
Not a lot. Oh, and there's a great picture on the Wikipedia page, dude. Like, this is
beautiful.
yeah, so that's basically it. And
it's honestly the same story. I feel like we don't have enough on this guy.
We don't. So historians get to that. If anybody who ends up listening to this has more information
Please
about
tell
Eglon,
us more about Eglon.
please come to us.
I want to know more about this guy. How did he get so fat? I want to know about the 12 years between, like when he first took over. After...
Maybe he started out really skinny.
Maybe he did.
Maybe this was like King Robert. Or he started out
he could have been King Robert. He could have been the best, and then he just got big over the 12 years.
And then this is one of the many instances that Game of Thrones is basically a mirror of the Old Testament.
It almost makes more sense.
And that's saying a lot.
It's
almost easier to follow.
I'm gonna actually say too, there's probably less incest as well.
Less incest in Game of Thrones than there is in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I wonder if someone's done a comparison on that.
It's not even a contest. I mean, if we're using the entire Old Testament compared, I'm just this sheer volume of...
You know how Game of Thrones sometimes has that warning of, like, incest rape?
Yeah.
That is right there.
It's all over the place.
That is in the Bible, too.
It's ridiculous.
Was Eglon real? Did Eglon exist? What do you, like, you pick your position, and then I will tell you mine.
I'm going to say this story is too beautiful and too fantastical to have happened in real life. I mean, just look at it. It's a poor, sad hope of the left-handed people to think they could be of any good.
So you're saying that there wasn't a king that was so fat that his stomach swallowed an entire sword?
I wish there was. But that sounds like something from The Hobbit.
You think it sounds made up?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's possible, but that's some pretty bad cards.
I mean, I think part of this, like, maybe there was, like, this big king, and this guy killed him, and then it turned into this story as a way to put down that group of people, to put down the Moabites. They turned it into this, like, oh my god, the king was so fat that, where maybe Eglon existed, maybe.
There's that funny medieval picture we found.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they could have, I don't mean, when was that from?
Probably from when the monks got bored.
Yeah. I don't think they could have completely made maybe they did completely make
I guess it's not made up all the way, but...
The facts are a little different than what actually happened.
It went down so perfectly.
I'm gonna pop over to the moral of the story. Like, what did you get from this?
Well, like I said, at the end of all, I mean, here, from what I can see, moral of the story.
What?
You can be a sinful left-handed person, and God will still use you for good in his kingdom.
I feel like that is a backhanded compliment for me, but thank you.
Chelsea.
I think, so you're done. My moral is, if you're sitting on the pot for 2 hours, you gotta go see a doctor. Because that's way too long. Like, that is not healthy, and the only thing that happens to you in that situation is you get stabbed and your servants don't know.
You're dead. You're dead for years.
You're dead.
You're dead for years.
You're dead. You're dead. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us through this one. This was a little rough, but it was fun. I love talking. That was a lot of fun for us, so I hope you learned something. I hope we weren't confusing you.
And all of you left-handed people out there, just know God can use you. You don't have to be a sinner all of your life. There's a reason you're left-handed, and he will use it.
Aw, that was so sweet, Al.
Just so you know.
Okay, thank you for listening to this episode of Biblical Baggage. We'll see you
2 weeks, yeah.
With another episode, so stay tuned.
We're getting into Samson and Delilah soon, and they are so much fun.
I freaking love Samson.
Delilah is my personal hero.
I think, anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. Take care of yourselves, and be wary of left-handed people, because left-handed people are sneaky.
They'll stab you when you're on the pot.
Mm-hmm. I've done it before. Okay, bye. Peace out.